Right on. So now, what do you have that you're kind of pushing right now? Or are you kind of in a lull period while you work on getting this next book out?
Well, I'm still pushing Breathing because that only came out last Christmas, so I'm pushing that. But the next book, which comes out in January, is going to be called The Baby Exchange, which, having got all my issues out of the way, I hope, I'm now writing something a bit lighter. So again, it's women's commercial fiction, but it's about, I did live in Los Angeles. I was on the periphery of the entertainment industry, and it's just a look at reality television, the entertainment industry, a woman who has a baby that she doesn't really want, young adulthood, how difficult young adulthood can be. So that'll be the next one. But I'm just finishing editing that now. And my editor, the last thing that she wrote at the bottom of the script was, "I don't really like this ending." I was like, Now you tell me." I know her well. She knows me well that she can write that. She said, she was like, and I was just like, no, 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 no. So I'm just trying to, I'm going to keep it the same, but I've just got to make it a little bit more something for her.
So my stuff. I like horror. Horror is like the kind of storytelling I come from, and it's just been so many horror movies in the past, like let's say the past 10 years, where like there's 5 minutes tacked on to the end of the movie that just this isn't where the story was supposed to end. This is because one of the producers had a problem with how it ended.
Do you think
You can just tell.
you can see that? You can
Absolutely.
tell.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this would be a great ending, and then all of a sudden they keep the movie going another 5 minutes. You're like, oh, come on, you had something, you said something, you had art here, and then you made it whatever this is now, something to take up 2 hours of my time, I guess.
Do you think that's because they're all testing in the audiences and three people come out and say, "We don't like that bit," and then
Well, more than what I think a lot of what it is it's just the people. I think it's the people in the producers in the room because of their individual tastes. Because I mean, every now and again you'll get something that's real daring. Like you'll. I don't know if you're familiar with Stephen King's The Mist, but look what Frank Darabont did to the end of that movie and how dark it is. Like even darker than the book itself. And it takes I guess, a director with the clout to say, "Nah, I'm gonna do this the way this story is supposed to end." Like horror, it's always at the very least, it doesn't necessarily have to end badly, but it should always like leave a question of like, this something feels uncomfortable at the end of it. So if you wrap it up too neatly and too nicely, it feels off. It's certainly in that dimension. I only speak on horror because that's what I know when it comes to that stuff.
oh, I'm going to watch The Mist immediately as well. So I've got quite a lot. I'm going to have two things to watch this evening. What horror are you watching at the moment?
I Every year I watch 31 horror movies during this month
Oh,
because technically I watch them before the month, like, but my wife is very not about people suffering, so I kind of get all of my horror lumped into one part of the year that I can get it out of the way.
And so, what is she? Is she? She won't watch with you then, because my husband's really scared as well.
Oh no, she just doesn't have the constitution for it. Like, and I'll be honest, like a couple years ago I did 105 nights of horror, like straight through, and I learned that even my constitution, who likes horror, it does things psychologically too to put that much, I guess. And then this is including horror comedies. Like it's not even just like all the darkest stuff. It's just that genre, and it definitely left me with like it left its stain on me. We'll just say like all that much at one time.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. So this month you're reverting back to October, just the 31.
Yeah, just back to the 31. And if you're curious about that, you can see all the stuff I watch is actually on nickmccone.com, or I keep I keep reels
Where is it? Say it again.
mccone.com. It's my my personal webpage, because it's one of those things I keep track of. I was just because I've watched so many of them over the years. Like I have like little rules. Like every week has a different genre or type of movie, and it can't be something that I've watched before. So like it forces me to find like new lower budget stuff sometimes.
Oh, excellent. Oh, I will go and have a look. So you're a real aficionado of all this.
No, the problem is that like when it comes to horror, like for me, the gold standard is Clive Barker, who I don't know if you've ever read, is just like a master of prose. And so all too often I get let down from what my expectations of what horror should be are. Just people that don't have the command of language or, writing like he does.
Yeah. I didn't, sorry, I missed that name as well.
Clive Barker,
Clive Barker. What's he? Give me a famous, because I might recognize the name of the book.
film wise, he's the brains behind the Hellraiser.
Oh, Hellraiser. Yeah, totally. Oh my God, so scary.
The Books of Blood series is actually how he broke out, and it was a short story collection that he did. Then for years they touted it on the cover was Stephen King's "I've Seen the Future of Horror," and that's Clive Barker. But but personally, I actually prefer his dark fantasy stuff where it's not as gory or violent. It's he just has a very very strange way of magic in his world.
Yes, looking at the world. Yes, which can be horrifying by itself, can't it? It doesn't. It's like the Babadook. It sort of doesn't need to be.
So it was a good one, good movie there.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Not getting too far off track. Unfortunately, we'll talk horror forever. You've mentioned this term, commercial women's fiction. Is that what it is, or what exactly does that mean? It's not something I've ever heard anybody use before.
So that would be the main character's a woman. It's a commercial, as in, it's not literary, I suppose. Literary fiction being, if you wanted to be really unkind about it, literary fiction is beautifully written where not much happens, and commercial fiction is not quite as beautifully written, but much more happens. So it's probably more about the plot. It's an umbrella for, you could say, in a way,
It's just your audience.
exactly. All of your romantasy.
You can say your Twilight, your Shades of Grey, or whatever it is. There,
It could all be come under that umbrella. Yeah, exactly. But it kind of gives, I suppose, it gives agents an idea of, they can place you straight away.
now obviously you know who your audience is for that. Have you transitioned away from writing the stuff for younger audiences towards this, or is this intermingled in your world?
No, because I've written out a plan for the third one for the younger audiences. So those were just real, like the Count of Monte Cristo and all those kind of, adventure stories of. I really loved all of those, and there were some good ones written about the British in India by a writer called MMK. In I don't know when she wrote them. I should know that. Maybe the 1950s or 60s. But her family had all been in India, and there was a lot of children who were brought up in India who were English, had English families, and they never ever visited England. And what would happen is they'd get sent back to England to school or something, and they'd arrive in this wet, miserable, cold country with terrible food, and
It's all that Rudyard Kipling stuff.
it's totally, yeah, that's exactly it. And I just had an idea for one of these characters. So I wrote. Spends the first book having been sent back to London. She's lost her father. It was just after my father died. I wrote this. So again, more issues, and then she goes back to India to find her father, and now we're in India, and I'm just writing out the third book, which is, so it's all horses, and she's 12, and then she's 14, so now she's 16. So now there might have to be some snogging. I'm not sure, but I'm sort of gearing myself up for that because she's a bit older now. But it's just an adventure.
Now, one of the things I'm always curious about, and I try and press people when I talk to them about their working out in the medium as a writer. Number one, being honest with your audience about yourself as a creator. But more importantly than that is that you do solidify yourself as an actual person. Like, who you are is definitely going to affect like people picking up a book. It's like I say there's a million people that write Tolkien-esque fiction, or at least wish they did, or a million people that write, Lovecraftian horror. So why do I want to pick up your book? What is the thing that's going to draw me to your book over somebody else's? And if I'm looking at the back cover, there's only going to be one difference between your book and somebody else, and that's me looking at the author plate.